broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Well, hello there. This is Steve Hines from Hope Wellness Center in Cunha, Mexico. And I love listening to Justin and Kate because they provide such cutting-edge information. Tune in live every day to get inspired and learn about natural health. Dr. Feelgood signing off.
Increase brain health and improve focus, memory, clarity, and mood with BioAge Superfood. Get 10% off your order using coupon code JUSTIN at extremehealthradio.com/bioage. With all the advances in medical technology today, the key to longevity may be as simple as vitamin C. Discover the power of lipospheric vitamin C at extremehealthradio.com/vitamin C. Special show here at Extreme Health Radio. Really excited to be here with you. This is a pre-recorded show. Most of our shows are live, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And it's strange to do a pre-recorded show, but we are so excited. We have Mr. Bruce Lipton on the line.
Woohoo!
So we're going to be talking to him. Really great information. We're going to talk to him about his book, The Honeymoon Effect.
Nice. Intriguing.
Yeah, I know. I read The Biology of Belief years ago, and now I'm excited to talk about the honeymoon effect. So that's going to be cool. We'll introduce him in just a moment. If you guys would like to support our work, you could do that by going to Amazon through our link, extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, and you can make any and all purchases there through us, and that would be a great way to support our work. And we broadcast live 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So if you guys would like to join us in the chat room for the normal shows that happen, this is a pre-recorded show because by the time you're listening to this, we're going to be laying on the beach in Northern California, aren't we?
Drinking some spring water and hiking the mountains.
Hiking the mountains, Lake Tahoe, California. So we appreciate you guys being on and being a part of everything we have going on here at Extreme Health Radio. So it's just really an honor to be here. And today, this is episode 286 with Dr. Bruce Lipton. And for reference, at the time of this recording, it's Thursday, July 17th, 2014. And we are just honored to have Mr. Bruce Lipton on the line today. He's the author of a lot of different books, The Biology of Belief, which we mentioned a few minutes ago. Check this, Unleashing the Power of Consciousness, Matter, and Miracles. That is a great, great book. As well as Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future and the Way to Get There from Here, The Wisdom of Your Cells, How Your Beliefs Control Your Biology. But today, we're going to be talking about The Honeymoon Effect, which is his most recent book, and it's just an honor to have him on the line today. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Lipton, for being on the show today.
Justin, I want to thank you very much. I love this opportunity to talk about the new biology and that you offer a platform for people to hear some new science and new information because, as we're all aware, the world's in a very interesting turn of events here. We're actually going through a very profound evolutionary upheaval, and the way through this process is knowledge, because knowledge is power. And we've been deprived of a lot of knowledge, and new science is coming in to show us how powerful we really are. And therefore, thank you for this opportunity to provide that new knowledge. And a special thanks to the audience, because the people that are listening represent the cultural creatives, the people that are going to help organize and create a better, more thrivable future for us. So thank you for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thanks for the work you do. And like I said before, I read the Biology of Belief years ago, and I love the whole idea that you're bringing a scientific aspect to this sort of spirituality, I don't know what you call it, consciousness, and a lot of people kind of write it off, but your work, being a stem cell biologist over the years, has really brought the science into all this. I just think it's really cool.
Well, for me, it's very exciting, Justin, because of a very simple reason. I got into the field of science and got into my cell biology and stem cell research primarily because I didn't actually believe in spirituality. I tended towards science as where my truths were going to come from. And so as much as I was a practicing non-spiritual person, the information the cells provided transformed my entire life when I realized that our personal identity, who we are as individuals, is actually a reception from the environment that's picked up by the cells. And when I understood that, it's like, oh my God, I'm not even in this biology. I'm out there in the field, and our biology, our bodies are like virtual reality suits. We step into this suit and we experience things because of our senses, our eyes, ears, nose, taste, touch, our emotions. All of that comes from our physical body. And so our spirituality jumps into this suit while we have a life, and our life experiences are translated by the nervous system and sent back to source, which to me blew my mind because I realized, oh my God, how wonderful it is to be alive on this planet, to have an opportunity to create life and create a heaven on earth. And of course, most people look around and go, sure doesn't look like heaven on earth here.
Right.
And then I say, well, that's why, the honeymoon effect. I say, listen, go back to a time you fell head over heels deeply in love with somebody, and there was a period of time right after that where when you're in this experience of this deep love, and it may not have lasted a long time, a few days, a week, a month, but there was something very profound about that period when you fell in love, and generally it's associated with three things which I attribute to the honeymoon effect. And number one is when people fall in love, they're exuberantly healthy. I mean, that's why you can say, look at those people that are in love. Look how they glow. And it's like, yeah, because the consciousness of love creates a chemistry in the body that encourages growth and health and maintenance of the body. So when you're experiencing love in your mind, your body is responding from the chemistry of your brain to enhance its health. When we're in love like that, we also have so much energy. You probably well aware, as everybody is, when I lecture in the audience and tell them this, they all laugh. I say, not only were you healthy, but you had a lot of energy. And I say, come on, you probably made love for days without stopping for food or sleep. And they laugh because, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the part that I really want to emphasize is that when we have fallen in love, and again, it may not have lasted a long time, but there was this period when we were experiencing that honeymoon effect where life was so beautiful that you couldn't wait for the next day to have more, that it was like having heaven on earth. And I go, yeah, no matter how crummy your life may have been up to the moment you met this person, the moment you meet this person, there's a transformation where like, oh my God, life is like so beautiful. It's just like heaven. And I go, this is not a coincidence or an accident. This is actually a personal creation. And if you understand the science behind this personal creation, and more importantly, as we'll get into, Justin, if you understand why you lose the honeymoon effect, because there are reasons why the relationships start out in their heaven on earth, and then they may stay as loving relationships, but that juiciness, that excitement, that beauty that you experience at first tends to disappear over time. And the fact is there are reasons for that as well. The conclusion is very simple. If you know how you created this honeymoon effect and you know why it gets lost, then guess what? You are in a situation where you can manifest a honeymoon experience, the juiciness of that love, every day of your life for as long as you live on this planet.
Because when you get into that honeymoon effect, it's interesting because all you can think about is that other person. What are they doing? I remember back in the day, it was, there's less cell phones, and when you're dating someone, all you can think about is what they were doing, what they were thinking about, and you get into this weird state. But like you said, you're consumed with this, aren't you?
Yeah, but what's interesting? There's a chemistry behind that, and it's that chemistry that it's involving a chemical. When you fall in love, the brain releases a chemical called serotonin. And serotonin is associated with compulsive behavior, and it's also associated with addiction. And so it's real interesting. When you fall in love with somebody, the serotonin that's released causes that compulsive behavior that causes you to continuously think about your lover. There's a chemistry in your body that is redirecting you there. And it's associated with addiction as well. Even like a heroin addiction is a serotonin-mediated event in your body. And so it's interesting because, yes, love is an addiction. Why? Well, it's so powerful in creating joy and happiness that you want more and more and more of it. In fact, this is where the big problems come from when a loving relationship falls apart. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of physiological down, and the simple reason is because when you do fall out of love, that serotonin shot that was keeping you in love is the Jonesy thing that joneses you for more love, and if you don't have that love, it's the same as a heroin addict who can't get a fix. Your body is like craving this, and you go through withdrawal. So it's interesting. The serotonin is what keeps you addicted into that love state, but it also is the problem creator if you fall out of love, and most people have also had that experience, how blue you get, how down you get, and that is because all of a sudden that serotonin that you've been living on is craving more. It's the addict part. And so it's what you talked about, Justin, is not a coincidence, but a chemical consequence of being in love.
So you have that feeling, and so your brain creates a serotonin? Is that what happens?
Yeah. Well, here's how it works very simply this. The biology of the body is very important because, let's put it this way. When you look in the mirror and see yourself as a single individual human, you go, oh yeah, there's, you look in the mirror, and you say, oh, there's Justin, a human being, a single human being organism, or I look in the mirror, there's Bruce, single organism, and I go, well, that's a misperception, because the simple truth is this. Each of us is made out of about 50 trillion cells. The cells are the living entities. When you say Bruce or you say Justin, you're referring to a community of 50 trillion cells. So we are this giant community of cells. Well, the cells have to adjust their biology to keep us alive, because as the world changes around us, for example, you walk outside and it's summertime in the warm weather, it says it's warm, the nervous system picks up the temperature, sends that information to the cells of the body so they can organize the cooling process by perspiration. Or in contrast, you walk out of the house in the wintertime and it's cold. To keep you alive, the nervous system sends the information as cold, and the body cells then warm up the system to keep you at normal functioning temperature. So we're adjusting our biology so the cells can function based on what's going on in our world. So as you have a belief or a thought or a perception of the world, the nervous system translates that perception into chemistry and sends the signals via the chemistry to the 50 trillion cells in your body so they coordinate their life experiences. So as we just mentioned, when you fall in love, the perception of being in love causes the release of several very important chemicals that facilitate and encourage the love. For example, when a person is falling in love, the experience of love releases a chemical from the brain that goes to the 50 trillion cells. This chemical is called dopamine. And dopamine is the pleasure chemical. So when you fall in love and your mind experiences love, it informs 50 trillion cells that, hey, this is really great because the cells can experience the dopamine and feel the pleasure of being in love. And that's, of course, an encouragement for love. But there's also other chemicals released. For example, vasopressin is released when you fall in love. That chemical organizes the cells that creates more of an attractive character to you. You become more attractive and your partner becomes more attractive because the chemical message of vasopressin enhances that. So when you fall in love, now you got pleasure and you're totally attracted to this other person and you become more attractive, and that brings the bonds closer together. Then there's another chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin, when that's released, is the bonding chemical. So it says, oh, you're getting love and pleasure from this person, and the oxytocin then makes a link between your biology and your partner and says, this is the one that you're bonding with. So that's why all of a sudden you and your partner get very close together. You're bonded together. Why? Because the chemistry. And one other important one is growth hormone. When growth hormone, when you fall in love, you release growth hormone to the system, and that encourages the health and the vitality of the cells. So again, when you're experiencing love, you and your partner are releasing growth hormone into your body. The 50 trillion cells are being encouraged by this hormone to maintain health and keep that vitality. So that's why, as I said, when people fall in love, they glow. That's a consequence of interpreting love, releasing the chemicals of these love chemicals, and then those chemicals organizing your 50 trillion cells to keep and maintain that love experience in your body. So love is a mind concept at first, but the mind translates it into a body experience because the mind causes the brain to release these chemicals that encourage and support your love.
Do we know when someone is in love, when they first find that partner for the first time and they're in that state, do we know, is the brain always creating those chemicals, or do they kind of ebb and flow throughout the day?
Well, the chemicals are really just related to reading the environment. So let's say, we're sitting here and you're wherever you are listening to the show, and all of a sudden you open up your eyes and there's something that scares you right there. Well, the moment the mind sees something that scares you, it's not going to release the love chemicals that we just talked about. In fact, it'll start to release chemicals such as stress hormones and inflammatory agents. Okay. These chemicals prepare the body for fight or flight and protection. And the moment the threat is gone, then those chemicals are not released. So basically it says you are continuously adjusting your biology based on what you see or experience in the world in which you're living. So as you change your perceptions or your beliefs or attitudes, you are changing the chemistry. And this is very important because listen, biology has to continuously adapt to the world. And if the world is changing and you don't change, then you're out of sync or out of harmony with the world. And so to keep you in harmony, to keep you alive, to keep you prepared to what's going on in the world, the chemistry released by the brain is adjusted based on what's going on. If you maintain a love experience, and that's what your perception of life is all about, then those wonderful chemicals that we talked about, dopamine, vasopressin, growth hormone, oxytocin, and we talked about serotonin. Mm-hmm. When you're in love, these chemicals are designed to do what? Keep you in that love because it's healthy and it's encouraged by the world. And you might say, well, why do we fall in love? And there's a very important reason, and that is this. Built into every living organism, from bacteria all the way up to humans, is something that biologists recognize, something they call it the biological imperative. Okay. What that really represents is this, that all living organisms have built-in drives to stay alive. The biological imperative is what keeps you alive. If you're thirsty, that means you need water. If you're running out of energy, you get hungry, and so you could feed the system. So your body is responding to these signals from the biological imperative. But in addition to keeping us alive as individuals, the biological imperative, it also is designed to keep the species alive. So it's not just you as a single representative of the species, but the whole idea is the biological imperative is designed to keep the species alive. I say, well, how do you do that? And I say, it encourages reproduction. And so we get encouraged to lead to reproduction. Well, the significance about that is you just don't reproduce with anybody. You reproduce with someone who is in total harmony with you in that sense, so that you're going to create something very beautiful from it. So lower organisms, let's give an example. Let's say frogs. Uh-huh. I say, do frogs have a honeymoon? I say, absolutely not. I say, why not? Because their biological imperative to keep the species alive does not need a relationship. Two frogs get together and mate. They fertilize, the male fertilizes the eggs. They don't sit around and have a cigarette and a glass of wine and reminisce about this beauty they just had. Yeah. The simple reason is this. When a frog egg is fertilized, it doesn't need any parents. It's self-sufficient. When it hatches, the tadpole lives on its own, doesn't need any parents. So there's no reason for two frogs to have a relationship other than the mating. As you go up the evolutionary scale, the more complex the organism, when those organisms, the more complex ones, give birth, their offspring are not prepared to live on their own. That there has to be some degree of parenting to allow them to get started and learn what's necessary to stay alive. So I say, well, how about a chicken? I say, yeah, chickens hatch, the eggs hatch on their own, but the mother chicken is around, and she is the parent. She sort of guides them and shows them things, but parenting for a chicken is not necessarily a very long experience. The chicken, within a couple of weeks, is on its own by then. Mm-hmm. But then I say, well, how about a human? Oh, well, now we have an issue. When a human is born, it's going to take 13, 14 or more years for it to become independent and learn. So it says, well, then nature wants the parents of a human child to stay together for 13 or 14 years minimum to be the parents that will provide the support until the child is independent. And I say, well, then how does nature encourage us to stay together that long? Yeah. And I say, it gave us the experience of love. And when we experience that love, between the chemistry of the pleasure, there's the chemistry of bonding. The bonding, the oxytocin, is designed to say, this is the love, the person you met that's going to be your partner. It's going to help you to create the child. But I need you to stay together for at least 13 or 14 years so you can experience that. So nature gives us pleasure. And it gives us the oxytocin. It says who's the one you're going to bond with. This is the one that you selected as the partner in creating this offspring. It's going to release the serotonin. That's the addiction. Why? I need you to be addicted to this individual you're bonded to for 13 or 14 years. But you get a reward for that. It doesn't say, oh, okay, you're going to have 13 or 14 years of hell, which a lot of marriages end up being. Exactly. The whole idea was you're going to have 13 or 14 years of pleasure from the dopamine that is released. Yeah. So that's the intention of nature, and that's why the honeymoon becomes it's a biologically relevant period. It's not just for your self-gratification. It's nature's way of ensuring that parents stay together because they're mutually attracted to each other while they're raising their child to that stage where the child is independent. So it's not a coincidence, the honeymoon. It is part of our biological imperative to come together to create a future generation.
I love that. Such interesting information. We got to take a little bit of a break. We're with Dr. Bruce Lipton. If you're interested in his work, you can check it out, brucelipton.com, and I'll also put links to all of his books that he's written on episode 286 here of the page. And we appreciate you guys being on so much, and we'll be right back right after this break. Are you living in the 21st century taking 19th century supplements? Vitamin C pills and powders are often destroyed in the digestive system and passed as waste, never reaching your depleted cells. Lipospheric vitamin C uses a patented encapsulation technology to deliver more without the stomach distress caused by pills and powders. Within minutes, liposomes filled with vitamin C are transported directly into your cells without binders, fillers, sugar, or GMOs. With all the modern advances of medicine and technology, are you throwing away money every morning on inefficient supplements? For under $1 a day, you could experience the power of lipospheric vitamin C. For a real eye-opener, visit extremehealthradio.com/vitamin C. I wanted to tell you about this really powerful and unique product called the Q Laser. Did you know there's over 2,500 peer-reviewed clinical research studies showing the benefits of low-level laser therapy on the body? We had Dr. Larry Lytle on episode 165 talking all about it. Dr. Lytle, what is the Q Laser?
The Q Laser is a light-delivering device, handheld, rechargeable, that is for lay people and professionals, that works at the cell level of the body to restore energy. Since the body is all composed of cells and the cells are composed of atoms, it's good for any and everything in the body. It is especially beneficial for injuries. It will reduce swelling and inflammation before your eyes. Literally, you can have a sprained ankle and fly the laser, and within 30 minutes you can see that the swelling in the ankle has been reduced. Since all disease is inflammatory, you can assume that same process is working if you have some type of intestinal problem. We have pictures of using a heat instrument to diagnose the intestinal inflammation. We can show that intestinal inflammation is pretty much gone within 3 minutes using the Q1000 laser. It's the number one tool in your medicine cabinet. I have a saying, never leave home without your laser. I have had 3 serious burns, and each time I had my laser with me, I applied the laser immediately after I had the burn. I never even blistered.
Kate and I don't want to be without ours. We've worked out a special deal with Dr. Lytle for all of our listeners. If you'd like to learn more about how the Q laser can dramatically improve your health, go to extremehealthradio.com/laser.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
All right, we're having a great time here with Bruce Lipton. What do you think, Kate?
Well, it reminds me of being in the Dominican Republic in early January when we sat around with a group of people on a retreat watching one of his amazing lectures.
That's right.
Biology of Belief.
We were down there, Dominican Republic, and we watched an amazing lecture that Bruce did.
Yep, and I thought we have to meet this man.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Full circle.
Pretty cool.
This is awesome. This is episode 286, and we're going to put links to all of his websites and books and everything on this show page if you're interested in that. So I appreciate you guys being on the line here and listening. And so, Bruce Lipton, I wanted to ask you about what you were just talking about. I think a lot of it goes back to, if my memory serves me correct, in the Biology of Belief, you talk a lot about the cell membrane and how that corresponds to the inside of the cell. Is that correct?
Yeah, most people have been trained with a conventional belief that the cell is controlled by the genes. And we always talk about that, oh yeah, my fate is determined by the genes that I have, whether I'm going to be healthy or I'm going to have a disease or I'm going to have bad behavior. It's all genetic. And it turns out this is totally incorrect. It's an incorrect belief that most people have been educated with. Genes are like programs or blueprints to make the body, but they don't make decisions. And this is quite unfortunate because so many people say, oh yeah, a gene turned on or a gene turned off, or I got disease because a cancer gene turned on. And it turns out this is totally false. Genes do not turn on and off. Genes are blueprints. What turns the genes on and off is the brain of the cell that decides what's needed for the cell. So the genes don't have any idea what's needed or what they are or what they do. They're just chemical messages. Mm-hmm. And so it turns out the genes which are in the nucleus of the cell. This is in the conventional books. They talk about, the nucleus is the brain because that's where the genes are, and the genes control biology. And it turns out, well, yeah, the nucleus is where the genes are, but they don't control biology. The membrane or the skin of the cell is the brain. In fact, it's very interesting because when a human is developing as an embryo, the nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and all the nerves actually come from the embryonic skin. So it's just like the cell. The skin is protection, but it's also nervous system. So the relevance is the membrane of the cell is the brain. And why is that relevant? Because the membrane, the skin, is the interface between the outer environment and the internal environment of the organism. And so the membrane is at the interface between inside and outside and reads the conditions of what's going on in the outer world and reads the condition of what's going on in the inner world. And in that capacity, the membrane of the cell reads environmental signals and then sends signals into the cell to adjust the behavior and adjust the genetics so that the cell can stay alive in a world that's continuously changing. That's what allows us to keep adapting to what's going on in the world. So the brain of the cell is really dependent upon reading the environment and then adjusting the biology. Well, what's interesting, there's a new science. The old science called genetics, which means associated with something called genetic control, which literally means control by genes. That's the belief everybody, oh yeah, my genes cause my cancer, my genes cause my illness and all that, and that's what people believe. And it turns out, well, that science is incorrect. There's a new science. It almost sounds exactly the same because it's not genetics, it's called epigenetics. You go, well, it sounds the same, but I say, no, listen, when I say genetic control, I'm saying control by genes. That's the standard belief. That's wrong. And the new science is called epigenetic control. I say, well, what does that mean? Or I say, well, epi means above. So when I say epigenetic control, I am literally saying control above the genes. Now we recognize that the environment, and more specifically, our perception of the environment, the nervous system reads these signals and then sends information to control the behavior and the genetics of the biology. So we're not just genetically controlled automatons. We can change the readout of our genes. We can change our biology by how we change our perceptions and beliefs about life. And all of a sudden it says a difference in meaning, because if you grew up with the belief that genes control your life, you grew up thinking, well, I'm a victim. I'm a victim of my heredity. My God, there's cancer running in my family, and if I get that gene, I'm going to get the cancer, or cardiovascular disease, or Alzheimer's, or diabetes. And I go, no. Those genes don't create those entities. Those genes are used by the nervous system and will manifest or not manifest those entities based on our perceptions and our beliefs. And people think, well, what do you mean you can change your genes? I go, yes. Every day, according to how you see the world and respond to the world, you're continuously adjusting your genetics. So your genes aren't controlling you. You're controlling your genes. And this is profoundly different than the conventional story, because conventional stories, oh, genes control my life. That makes me a victim. But the new story of epigenetics says, no, you can change the readout of your genes by how you respond to the world. And all of a sudden it says, then you're not a victim. You're a master of your genes, because you're the one that controls their activity.
Yeah, you're the one, and most people don't realize that. So there's also, Bruce, something that goes along with this, and that would be the idea that people talk about how they say, I am a certain way. I'm no longer attracted to the person that I loved or used to love, or I'm no longer, or I am an angry person. And so there's a danger in saying and believing those types of things about ourselves, isn't there?
Well, absolutely, because the danger is, since your perception is what we now know controls your genes, then it simply says this: if I perceive that I'm an angry person, I believe that I'm an angry person, then my nervous system is sending the chemistry of that belief to my cells, and they will operate in a status of being angry. So when I say I'm an angry person, I become an angry person. And basically then it says your beliefs are controlling your biology. You know, listen, it sounds kind of weird for most people, but I say, well, look, almost everyone's familiar with something called the placebo effect. I say, what's that? It's like, well, I have this issue, a disease or something, and the doctor said this pill, this new exciting pill that just came out, is going to cure my problem. I take the pill, I get healthy, and then later on I find out the pill was just a sugar pill. And everybody goes, oh yeah, that's the placebo effect. Your belief that the pill will heal you is what healed you, not the pill. The pill was sugar. It was your belief that healed you. So all of a sudden you realize, oh, my perception that this is what's healing me, it's really my perception that healed me, not the pill. Well, this is very important because everyone goes, oh, yeah, the positive thinking of a placebo is what healed you, not the drug or the therapy. And then I go, yes, and here's the problem. Because everyone goes, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, placebo effect. And I go, placebo effect is based on a very positive belief. It's the positive belief that heals you. The issue is, what about negative beliefs? And this is the biggest issue because no one talks about that, but here's the most important reality. Positive beliefs and negative beliefs are equally powerful in controlling your life, but they work in opposite directions. The positive belief can heal you, but a negative belief can cause you to get sick and then can actually cause you to die. So positive or negative, it's the belief that controls your biology. And the relevance is that science refers to the negative beliefs as the nocebo effect. Well, I say, why is this relevant? And the answer is because psychologists will tell us 70% of our beliefs are negative. So that means 70% of the day, you're not sending positive messages of health to your body. You're sending negative messages which are just simply disempowering or self-sabotaging or limiting. These are the negative beliefs that cause the illness in our lives. We blame illness on genes, and it turns out only about 1% of illness is related to genes. 99% of illness is connected to our lifestyle, our beliefs, our perceptions, our attitudes. And these are things we can control. So we have to let go of, oh, I'm a victim because my genes are causing this, and go, no. I'm the one that's controlling the genes, and therefore I have to recognize, what are my thoughts? What am I thinking about? What are my beliefs about life? Why? Because those thoughts, those beliefs, are going to select the behavior and select the genes that will be complement to those beliefs. So if you're an angry person, you will create a physiologically angry body, and that is unfortunate because that's very stressful, and that causes illness, and that's why angry people are more susceptible to illness.
That makes so much sense. So how do we have any practical tools, to use in our back pocket if we come along a situation in our life that maybe is like a pet peeve? And what I always like to tell myself is, it's just a story that I play, that I hit the play button on. I think you talk a lot about that, about how we hit the play button on these stories, and it relates to relationships as well, like in your new book. But I think it's important to have a new story that we can hit play on. Isn't that true?
Oh, absolutely, because we've been misled. Remember, knowledge is power, but more importantly, a lack of knowledge is a lack of power. So if we have misinformation about how our biology works, then we're not being empowered. And we have been misled because we've been programmed, genes are controlling your biology. And as I said, if that belief makes you a victim because you didn't pick the genes as far as you know, you can't change the genes. And if they control your life and you don't control them, then you are, by definition, a victim of your heredity. And the new biology says, no, the genes are not in control. Your mind is in control. And now here comes the issue that is fundamental to the whole problem of life, and it's this. The mind controls the behavior and the genetics and our life experiences. And then I say, but there's two parts to the mind. We usually group them as one mind, but I'm going to tell you, no, their two parts are independent, but they work together. And the one part is called the conscious mind, and the other part is called the subconscious mind. Now, this is very important people understand this because this is the secret to understanding life, and it goes like this. The conscious mind, the latest evolution of the brain, is a lump of brain tissue right behind your forehead. And the conscious mind is the creative mind. That's what makes humans so powerful in the world. Lower animals are just reactive, stimulus, response, stimulus, response. Humans are creative, so between the stimulus and the response, we can create different kinds of behaviors. So that gives us freedom. So the conscious mind is creative. It's you, your personal identity that's in there. What makes us different from each other is the conscious mind. That's like our connection to spirituality, our source. So I say, conscious mind, creative mind, and that's you. And the creative mind, by definition, has your wishes and desires. Because if I say, Justin, Kay, tell me what you want from your life. Then you say, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to have a good relationship. I say, great, those are creative wishes. They come from the conscious mind. So creative characters, wishes, desires are conscious mind. And I say, what about subconscious mind? I go, no, that's the more primitive part of the brain. It's actually 90% of the brain. But that's the stimulus response part. That's the habit part. Push the button, play the behavior. A lot of people say the subconscious is evil. I go, no, it's like a CD recorder. The CD recorder is going to record a program. Is the CD recorder good or bad? No, it's just the recorder. It's not good or bad. It's the programs are good or bad. Same thing for subconscious. It's a recorder of behavior. It's not good or bad. It's the recordings, the programs that you downloaded that are good or bad, not the subconscious. Subconscious is very important. So, but it only plays habits. Stimulus, response. Push the button, play the behavior. So the issue is this. The creative mind has your wishes and desires in it. The subconscious mind has programs. And now here comes this very important fact, and then we'll tie it all together. Before you can be conscious using the creative conscious mind, you have to have programs. Otherwise, you can't be conscious of anything. So, if a baby's just being born and it could speak, just imagine it could. Baby's coming out of the birth canal, and we say to the baby, we ask the baby, say, tell us something. And the baby looks up at you and goes, look, I don't know anything. I just got here. I can't tell you anything. I don't know anything. And I go, yes, this is precisely the issue. Before you can become conscious, you have to have programs. Or the same for people understand like an iPod. That little wheel on the front of the iPod called the click wheel is where you can select the programs, push play, pause, or stop. You control it. So the little click wheel on the iPod is like conscious mind. It's creative. Create a playlist. I go, okay, brand new iPod. Take it out of the box, push play. Nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And people go, no, until you download the programs, you can't push play. And I go, exactly the same thing for the mind. If you don't have programs in the subconscious mind and consciousness is activated, it has nothing to think about. So it won't work. So the first 7 years of our lives, the brain operates at a lower frequency than consciousness. It's operating at a frequency called theta. Theta is hypnosis. So the child for the first 7 years is learning programs. not by creating programs, but by downloading the behaviors of others, like the mother, the father, the siblings, the community. So I'm going to give you a simple fact. The fundamental programs of how life works are in your subconscious, but they came from other people. That means they don't represent what you want, your wishes and desires. These are just the programs of the family and the community. How to be a member of the family, how to be a member of the community. You got to learn all the rules. So first 7 years, you're not being creative. You're just downloading. So now here's the consequence. The fundamental programs of how to respond to life, how to create life, how to behave, are in your subconscious. They were downloaded by observing others. So by definition, the behaviors, the fundamental behavior in your subconscious mind don't represent your wishes and desires. They're other people's behaviors, your parents, family, etc. And now I'm going to give you now the problem in our lives for most people. We believe we run our lives with our conscious mind, the wishes and desires. I get up in the morning, I'm saying, man, I'm going out today. I'm going to get the best job possible. I'm going to be healthy today. I'm going to find a great relationship. And then at the end of the day, you come home and you don't have that job. You're not as healthy and there's no relationship. And you go, wow, I went forward with wishes and desires and I didn't get them. And then people think, oh, well then, you know, my wishes and desires, they don't control anything because I'm a victim because I didn't get what I wanted. Well, here's the secret, and this is the most important secret of life. The conscious mind does have your wishes and desires in it, but the problem is this: the conscious mind can think. And so if I say, Justin, hey, what are you doing next Friday? The moment I ask you that question and you think, you're not paying attention to what's going on at the current moment. Your mind is up in your head looking in the Rolodex of, yeah, what am I doing on Friday? And why is that relevant? Here's the bottom line. When you're thinking with your conscious mind, it's not paying attention. That doesn't mean when you're thinking, you stop everything. So like you're walking down the street, you have a thought and you freeze. And then the thought happens. And then when you're finished, you start walking again. You're walking down the street, you have a thought. You continue walking down the street because here's the fact. When the conscious mind is thinking, the behavior is then by default controlled by the subconscious program. I go, well, where did the subconscious programs come from? Do they represent me? And I go, fundamentally, no. You got them from other people. So if you're thinking and you're playing a subconscious program, your program generally doesn't support your wishes and desires. It came from other people. It's not, you know, you got to program somebody else's behavior. The problem is, and this is the problem, when you default to the subconscious while you're thinking, your conscious mind doesn't observe the behavior. Simple reason. It's thinking. It's not paying attention. And then this leads to a very interesting situation, which I talk about in my lectures. I tell people, I say, look, I'm sure when you, in your history, you were very close to a friend. You knew your friend's behavior very, very well. And you happen to know your friend's parent. And at some point, you see that your friend has the exact same behavior as their parent. So you volunteer, you know, you say, hey, you know, Bill, you're just like your dad.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You back away. Yep. Bill goes ballistic. How can you compare me to my dad? And everybody in the audience laughs because they're familiar with it. And I say, no, it might be funny, but it's the most profound story in the world for a very simple reason. Everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. The only one who doesn't see it is Bill. I say, well, explain that. And I go, yeah. He got the behavior in his subconscious mind by observing his dad. He's playing his dad's behavior because his mind is busy in thought, and therefore he defaulted to the subconscious program. But the problem is now he's playing his dad's behavior. He's the one that doesn't see it because his mind is in thought. So when the conscious mind's busy, it's not observing. And so therefore, that's why Bill's the only one who doesn't see that he behaves like his dad. And then I go, well, wait a second. We are all Bill. Every one of us, it turns out, here's the number, 95% of the day our mind is in thought. That simply translates as 95% of the day your behavior is controlled by your subconscious programming. 95% of the day you don't even see that behavior because your mind is in thought.
That's right.
So basically, I go out of the morning with a thought from my conscious mind to be successful. I come home in the evening, it's not successful. I didn't see that 95% of my behavior was sabotaging me. As a result, when I come home at night and I'm not successful, I feel like a victim. You know, it's like, God, I didn't get what I was looking for in this life, and I ended up with this mess. And then it turns out because we didn't see, we sabotaged our life with the behaviors that we got from other people. And psychologists tell us 70% or more of those programs in that subconscious mind are negative and self-limiting and sabotaging. And therefore, the majority of the time we're running on the default, 95% of the time, the majority of that is self-sabotage. 70%. And we don't see it. And that's why we believe we're victims.
That is amazing. This is such good information. We're going to take a little bit of a break. 70% of our thoughts are negative and self-sabotaging.
Well, we got to figure out what to do about this when we get back.
Yes, we got to. Yeah. So when we come back from the break, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about how we can perhaps think less. Maybe 95% of the time we're thinking about, and then letting the subconscious run our life. So we'll talk about how to think less, and perhaps maybe some other steps that we can get into. How do we reprogram our subconscious mind? Wow. That's the real deal there. So we're with Bruce Lipton. His website is brucelipton.com. This is episode 286, and we'll be right back right after this break. If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, and even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now just take one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed of 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. And if you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity, is safe for you and your family, and it helps protect against radiation exposure. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at extremehealthradio.com/bioage or call 877-288-9116. Get 10% off your order using coupon code JUSTIN at extremehealthradio.com/bioage. BioAge, the age of advanced organics. I have to say, I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
People come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself, so go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong.
All free shows, all the time, on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
having a great time here with Mr. Bruce Lipton, brucelipton.com. We appreciate him being on the show, and it's just really lots of good information. And this is episode 286 with Mr. Bruce Lipton, his website, brucelipton.com. And we broadcast 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. If you guys would like to join the show at extremehealthradio.com/live. This is a special pre-recorded show. And Bruce Lipton is the author of The Biology of Belief, Spontaneous Evolution, The Wisdom of Your Cells, and The Honeymoon Effect. So just really fascinating stuff. And I don't know, I just love this stuff. I think that, true health and true healing, a lot of it starts with the physical ideas of things and juicing and cleansing and things like that. But eventually, if you're on the path long enough, you're going to start getting into some of this kind of information where it doesn't matter how many green juices you drink. If you're self-sabotaging and you're living in depression and fear and anger and worry, I don't know. I don't know how much those green juices are going to help. I'm sure they're going to help some, but not as much as getting on top of your life in this way. So, Bruce, I wanted to talk a little bit perhaps in this segment here, if you can, about some of the ways in which people can be able to change their subconscious programming.
Yeah, well, the first thing we have to recognize is a simple fact, as we talked about, we have been programmed. And it's interesting because most people are familiar with the movie called The Matrix.
Yep.
And it's funny because you look in the video store, they say, oh, The Matrix, look under science fiction. And I go, no, The Matrix is a documentary. It says we've all been programmed. And if you take the blue pill, according to the movie, you stay in the program and life stays exactly the same as it is. And then they say, but if you take the red pill, you get out of the program. Well, let me give you very exciting information. How is it we end up falling in love and creating heaven, no matter how crummy our life is, until we meet this special person? And then all of a sudden, our life turns around and we're healthy and we're energized and we're having this great honeymoon experience. I say, what was different? And the answer is this. It's the equivalent of taking the red pill. Science has found out when you fall in love like that, you don't let your conscious mind wander. Your conscious mind stays present. It's called being mindful. And the reason, why does your conscious mind stay present when on every other day it's 95% in thought? And the answer is simple. When you have someone beautiful like your partner Kay in front of you, you don't let your mind wander because everything you wanted is right there. So why let your mind wander? You keep your mind present going, wow, look what I got. Look how wonderful. And I say, well, why is that relevant? Because it's the first time in your life that you keep running the show with your conscious mind, the creative mind, the one that has wishes and desires. So when two people come together, fall in love, and stay in the conscious mind, they're not creating life from the sabotaging programs of the subconscious. They're creating life from the wishes and desires of the conscious. And the wishes and desires lead to that, heaven on earth life experience. The honeymoon ends, unfortunately, later when life starts to get very busy. And when it gets busy, that's when we start default back to the subconscious as our conscious mind becomes carried away with thought. Then we return back to that other life with the negative sabotaging behaviors, which, being negative and sabotaging, also disrupt the relationship. And that's why the honeymoon starts out as heaven on earth. And while you may stay with a person and still be in love with them, the real heaven on earth, the juiciness, the joy, the excitement, fades away and life becomes more regular. That's like taking the blue pill. You went back into the program again. And the whole idea is this, well, how can I stay in the heaven on earth experience? And the answer is, well, number one, if you can practice the thing called mindfulness, that's the exercise that says I can keep my conscious mind present instead of letting it go into thought. Because as long as it's present, then I'm controlling my life with my creative wishes and desires. But that's very difficult in the world in which we live because life is way too busy. So the other thing you can do is rewrite the programs of the subconscious so they're not sabotaging anymore. A simple point. If the programs of my subconscious matched the wishes and desires of my conscious mind, what would happen? The answer is this. Well, as long as you're conscious, you're creating wishes and desires. But if your mind starts to wander and you default into the subconscious and it has the same programs, well, then you continue expressing wishes and desires. So the secret is, if you can rewrite the subconscious programs and make the programs the same as your wishes and desires, then that means whether you're paying attention or you're not paying attention, your nervous system will always be seeking and manifesting the honeymoon experience. You could have it every day of your life for as long as you live. But the problem is, of course, most of our programs, I said, are negative and self-sabotaging. So you want to rewrite it. Now, here comes the issue. The conscious mind, being creative, learns in very easy ways. Creativity is what great. It's great. You can read a self-help book. You can go to a lecture. You can watch a video, or you can listen to Extreme Health Radio and hear what your comments are about life. And the conscious mind will download all this and learn it. So the conscious mind learns real easily. You can just go, aha, I got it. And the conscious mind learns. I say, well, this is interesting because it's easy to educate the conscious mind. In fact, almost everybody's conscious mind out there is much more powerful and educated than the subconscious programming. I say, well, we always thought that if you educate the conscious mind, the subconscious mind would follow along. And it goes, absolutely not. The subconscious mind doesn't learn that way. It learns in a different way. So you can educate the conscious mind real easily, but the subconscious mind is resistant to change. It's very important. I mean, if you learn how to walk, you don't want to have to relearn how to walk every day. It's going to keep the program for as long as you live. So if you want to change the subconscious mind, you have to do something different than use the same way of learning it with the conscious mind. So I say, well, how does the subconscious mind learn? Well, there's 3 fundamental ways. The first 7 years of our life, our brain is in a record state. It's in theta, which is hypnosis. And so I say, you want to put in new programs, then go back into hypnosis. You can use subliminal tapes when you're going to bed at night, because as you're going to sleep, your mind slows down the vibration. And just before you fall asleep, the mind is back in theta, which is record. So if you put earphones on and have a recording of good messages coming into your mind as you're going to sleep, those messages go directly into the subconscious and can rewrite programming. That's one. How do you learn subconscious programs after 7? Because that's when the mind is now working at different frequencies than theta. It's working at higher frequencies of consciousness. I say, well, how does the subconscious learn after 7? By repetition. When we learn something, we had to practice and repeat it over and over and over again, just like the alphabet. How many times did you have to start with A before you could get the Z without making a mistake? You repeated it, you repeated it, you repeated it. And finally, when you got the whole sequence and it was learned, now you never have to repeat it again. You got it. It's a program. So hypnosis is the first way of learning and teaching the subconscious. The second way is repetition or habituation. You practice something by repeating it. Even if it's not true, you have to keep repeating it until the mind acquires the belief of the new program, and then the mind will change your life to match the program, because whatever programs you put in your subconscious, 95% of the day will manifest that program. So if you put in programs of health and happiness and love, and you put those in and exercise those into the subconscious, then when your mind switches from consciousness into subconscious, which it does 95% of the day, instead of playing negative programs, you'll be playing positive programs, and that will enhance your life. And both of these are time-consuming, the hypnosis and the habituation. There's a third way of changing the beliefs in a very rapid process called energy psychology. It's like super learning. There's a whole bunch of different modalities, and instead of listing them right now, let me just suggest that the listeners go to brucelipton.com. That's my website. Okay. At brucelipton.com, under resources, there's a listing of 20 to 30 different modalities of energy psychology that are ways that you can rapidly rewrite subconscious beliefs, most of them within 10 minutes.
Really?
Yes. And this is so necessary because the world is in a very serious upheaval right now. We're facing our own extinction, according to science. And science says that the problems that we face are due to human behavior. So if we want to get out of this problem, we better change our behavior. But then our behavior coming from the subconscious means, man, we got to rewrite that. Well, that's why it's so interesting that these new energy modalities make rapid change, because the planet is in need of rapid change. So I highly recommend looking at these energy modalities because they're the ones that can take those self-sabotaging and those limiting beliefs that we have and rewrite them in minutes. And I said, well, what would be the consequence? The answer is simple. The consequence is, once you start putting positive beliefs in the subconscious, every time you default to the subconscious, you are no longer sabotaging yourself. You're enhancing your life. As I said, if you make the programs of subconscious match the wishes and desires of the conscious mind, then that means not only we experience the honeymoon, but you will experience it your entire life. Imagine waking up every day and being in that juicy love that you experienced in the very beginning when you first fell in love as a way of life. Totally amazing.
Yeah, I love that, because that's what, a lot of people talk about positive affirmations, but even that is coming from the conscious mind, isn't it? So your body knows that it's basically lying to itself. Your subconscious knows that you're not telling the truth, and so that's why you have to reprogram.
They don't agree. The two minds don't agree. And also, you could say, yeah, but I'm going to use this positive affirmations. I go, okay, let's get back to the numbers. Only 5% of the day is your life actually being controlled by those positive beliefs. So so I sit there for a few minutes and I give myself, okay, positive affirmation, and I say, okay, do a few minutes of that. And I go, so what? And I say, yeah, because the next 95% of my time, I'm not operating from that mind anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, so the key and the gold here is to really figure out a way, like you just talked about, with some of these with the energy psychology and ways to reprogram your subconscious mind. What do you think about meditation? Would that be a good thing too?
Well, meditation calms the mind, but then if you do a repetitive exercise where not just you're doing a meditation, but you're in that calm state, which is lowering the vibrational frequency toward theta, actually, which is record. If you can get it low enough and you can stay in that long enough and record, this is my belief, this is what I want, this is my vision, this is, and you keep repeating that would download a new behavior. But you can't just meditate and just say, okay, everything's changed, because if you didn't put in a program, you get down to calming, but you didn't necessarily change programming. So there's two parts, meditation and instruction at the same time. Do you have any
resources perhaps for people to listen to things when they go to bed? Because that really intrigues me.
Well, yeah, but that's the easy part, because the vibration theta is a brain vibration lower than consciousness. But the lowest vibration of the brain is delta, and delta is sleep. So basically it says during the day you're awake and you're alert, your brain is running at a very high vibration beta. When you get home, you start to relax, the vibration calms down, so there's calm consciousness, that's a lower vibration called alpha. But just as you're going to sleep, and before you get into deep sleep, which is delta, you go from alpha to delta, you have to pass through theta, which is a slower vibration, but that's the one that's hypnosis. So as you're just going to sleep, every night there's a window of opportunity to put programs directly into the subconscious while you're in theta as you're just going to sleep. And that's the use of those tapes become very important.
Interesting stuff. Bruce, I know you're a busy man. I know you have another engagement here in a few minutes. I just want to thank you so much for taking some time out today. I'm so glad it worked out.
Oh, I'm so glad it worked out, and I deeply appreciate both of you allowing me this opportunity to talk to your audience, and I appreciate your audience, as I mentioned, because this is an opportunity to gain that knowledge that empowers us. And it's funny because I wrote the book, The Honeymoon Effect, and people don't realize without hearing it from me, is that I was married when I was very young. It didn't seem to work out very well. And after 10 years, I got out. It was emotionally traumatizing to go through the divorce and all that with my kids. Right. And I had a mantra for 17 years. This is true. Every day, 17 years, when I would shave, every stroke of the razor, I would say, I'll never get married again. I'll never get married again. 17 years in a row. But by then I started to learn the understanding about how the subconscious interfered and all that. And when I started to put this new education, I met my partner, Margaret. And now I have to say, fortunately, now I'm 18 years plus in a state of perpetual honeymoon, waking up every day going, oh my God, it's heaven on earth. I'm so happy, and I got such a wonderful sharing partner. And it didn't happen by accident or coincidence. It was understanding that I had to rewrite the programs that limited us. And I'll just leave people with this. When we do a workshop, we find that 80 to 90% of the people, when asked to test a belief statement, I love myself, 80 to 90% of the people will not have that belief in their system. I say, why is that relevant? And the answer is very simple. If you can't love yourself, then by definition, you can't be loved by somebody else. Because if they say they love you and your mind goes, well, how can they love me? I don't love me, so they don't have good quality control if they love me. We will sabotage ourselves, and this is the issue we almost 80 to 90% of the listeners out there unconsciously are dealing with. It has to do with childhood programming when we grew up, when we were being criticized by parents and recording their criticisms and then putting them in our subconscious program. So 95% of the day we are very self-critical of ourselves and not loving ourselves. And until that's rewritten, we will always be in a struggle as we try to seek love and then have our subconscious program sabotage it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Gosh, thank you so much, Bruce, for being on. It's just such an honor. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it again, too, as well. Thank you both, Kate. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bruce.
Love to you all.
All right. So what do you think about Dr. Bruce? He didn't like to be called doctor. He likes to be like a normal guy. Bruce Lipton.
Bruce Lipton.
He was so cool. Such a fireball, wasn't he?
Man alive. That's all I have to say.
I know. He's great.
He is as energetic on the phone and as wonderful as he seems on all the TV appearances we've seen him on. Because I remember seeing some stuff of him. I believe it was that one. What's the one we saw when we were in the Dominican?
Oh, I forget what actual lecture that was, but that was really good.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. And was it The Power of Belief or something like that? I'm not sure. Anyway, he was pacing like he's back and he's over here and he's pointing at stuff and he's rolling up his sleeves. He's like,
he was sweating like a preacher,
I know.
on stage.
Awesome. I really get so much from him. I think his energy is just, and his enthusiasm is contagious. And I was so honored to have him on. I thought he had some very interesting points, didn't he?
You know what? With him, it's interesting because he brings all the science into it and stuff like that.
Right.
And so it was interesting because back in the day, he came to a crossroads when he was starting to realize that genetic determinism doesn't determine whether or not our genes actually express themselves like we thought in the past. And so just because you have XYZ gene for whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to express itself. And so when he was doing the experiments a long time ago, I was reading in the Biology of Belief that he came eventually to a point where he could no longer choose to continue in that path because the outcome of his teaching was genetic determinism and your genes are your DNA are your genes and you have no ability to change any of this stuff. And everything he was learning in the lab was showing just the opposite of that. So talk about leaving a cush job. Right? And a cush career.
Yeah.
And
talk about taking a risk, huh?
Yeah, and to be sort of like he talked about at the beginning, like the into it's the spiritual side of life and stuff like that. I think he said prior to all this he was an atheist.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And I mean, talk about the ridicule he must have got from his former colleagues, And I don't know what was going on in his personal life, but for him to have left that job and to pursue what he's doing now, I mean, that is just a pretty incredible thing.
That's incredible. Who was it that actually came up with the term epigenetics or discovered it? Do you know?
Ooh, epigenetics. I have no idea.
I wonder how long it's actually been known for.
Epigenetics. Yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
But isn't that wild that that our thoughts and beliefs actually change our biology, change our genes? It's weird, isn't it?
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it.
How to have the honeymoon effect all the time, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of like hard to wrap my mind around still. I'm going to want to listen to that one again. And I definitely want to read that book. It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, the honeymoon effect. I read the Biology of Belief, and then he's got a couple other ones that we're going to link to on the show page. But really interesting stuff. And I really like what he talked about at the end, where he talked about how to change your subconscious thoughts, because figuring out how to do that is absolutely critical if you want to actually have your body believe the positive things you're trying to tell it, and to do that through, he did subliminal or hypnotic,
subconscious reprogramming and
using
hypnosis,
audio when you go to sleep at night.
Yeah, there was a name for that too that he under his resources.
Yeah, under his resources. Yeah, we're going to link to that.
Let me look at my note here. That was interesting, though. I want to try some of them.
Yeah. What were they?
Let me look. Sorry.
No, he's...
Flip the page here. Under resources, there's 20 to 30-minute modalities for energy psychology.
That's right.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hypnosis and then practice all the time. That's the other thing. And then energy psychology is where he talks about
energy psychology. Interesting.
Yeah, wild, huh?
I feel like that's a mixture between like energy medicine and psychology altogether to find this. I mean, talk about a crazy healing modality, it was really strange because before the show started, we were really curious as to whether or not he was going to be on, because we had booked this interview probably 4 or 5 months ago. And normally I send reminders and all that, and I don't know if I did, if I forgot. And I was really starting to worry that it wasn't going to happen. And finally it got down to, at the exact time that it was time to do the interview, I still hadn't heard from him. And something within me told me that, you know what, it's going to happen. Don't worry, it's going to happen.
And if it doesn't happen, then I'm just going to live in the flow like you've been teaching me. And but something told me, like, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. All of a sudden, I look at Skype and I get this friend request from a strange name. I didn't realize what it was. And turns out it was him.
He is one organized man to book something 4 or 5 months in advance and not have any possible reminders and then give you a call.
I love
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
In this day and age, it's so rare. I mean, I'm guilty of messing up 1,000 times. It's amazing that he could keep his schedule so clean for being so busy. He sounded like he had such a packed day, let alone life. I'm sure he's all over the place, but...
I got to know what kind of energy vitamin supplements he's on.
Right.
He's just a fireball, isn't he?
I love that man.
He was so great. So if you guys enjoyed this interview, please pass it on to your friends. We'd greatly appreciate that. Would be honored if you do that. This was episode... What episode was this?
Gosh, 280... hold on. 28... I'm flipping my book. That's 286.
Right. 286. So extremehealthradio.com/286, and we'd appreciate it if you guys would pass it on to your friends. And also, if you guys would leave us a review in iTunes, we'd greatly appreciate that. Apparently, the more reviews and ratings a show has in iTunes, the higher up in the rankings it shows when people do searches. And also, if you guys would like to support our show, there's lots of different ways to do that. Amazon is a great way. You can go to our store and look at all the different products we have on there. We accept donations. And I think there's links to that at the top. So another great way to support us, if you can't support us financially in any of those ways, is just to share the show with your friends. And we greatly appreciate that. It's just so helpful.
Yeah.
So if you guys can do that.
More people get helped.
Yeah, more
Spread
people
the
get
word.
helped.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole goal here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's about a wrap, right?
Sounds like a wrap.
Sounds like a wrap.
Sounds like a wrap. Feels like a wrap.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate all you guys. And let us know if we can ever help. And
we will catch you on the next episode.
That's right.
Hey, everybody. This is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to
Right, here we are on a special show here at Extreme Health Radio. Really excited to be here with you. This is a pre-recorded show. Most of our shows are live, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And it's strange to do a pre-recorded show, but we are so excited. We have Mr. Bruce Lipton on the line.
Woohoo!
So we're going to be talking to him. Really great information. We're going to talk to him about his book, The Honeymoon Effect.
Nice. Intriguing.
Yeah, I know. I read The Biology of Belief years ago, and now I'm excited to talk about the honeymoon effect. So that's going to be cool. We'll introduce him in just a moment. If you guys would like to support our work, you could do that by going to Amazon through our link, extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, and you can make any and all purchases there through us, and that would be a great way to support our work. And we broadcast live 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So if you guys would like to join us in the chat room for the normal shows that happen, this is a pre-recorded show because by the time you're listening to this, we're going to be laying on the beach in Northern California, aren't we?
Drinking some spring water and hiking the mountains.
Hiking the mountains, Lake Tahoe, California. So we appreciate you guys being on and being a part of everything we have going on here at Extreme Health Radio. So it's just really an honor to be here. And today, this is episode 286 with Dr. Bruce Lipton. And for reference, at the time of this recording, it's Thursday, July 17th, 2014. And we are just honored to have Mr. Bruce Lipton on the line today. He's the author of a lot of different books, The Biology of Belief, which we mentioned.
After that, where when you're in this experience of this deep love, and it may not have lasted a long time, a few days, a week, a month, but there was something very profound about that period when you fell in love. And generally it's associated with three things, which I attribute to the honeymoon effect. And number one is when people fall in love, they're exuberantly healthy. I mean, that's why you can say, look at those people that are in love. Look how they glow. And it's like, yeah, because the consciousness of love creates a chemistry in the body that encourages growth and health and maintenance of the body. So when you're experiencing love in your mind, your body is responding from the chemistry of your brain to enhance its health. When we're in love like that, we also have so much energy. You probably well aware, as everybody is, when I lecture in the audience and tell them this, they all laugh. I say, not only were you healthy, but you had a lot of energy. And I say, come on, you probably made love for days without stopping for food or sleep. And they laugh because, yes, that's true. Yeah. But more importantly, the part that I really want to emphasize is that when we have fallen in love, and again, it may not have lasted a long time, but there was this period when we were experiencing that honeymoon effect where life was so beautiful that you couldn't wait for the next day to have more. That it was like having heaven on earth. And I go, yeah, no matter how crummy your life may have been up to the moment you met this person, the moment you meet this person, there's a transformation where like, oh my God, life is like so beautiful. It's just like heaven. And I go, this is not a coincidence or an accident. This is actually a personal creation. And if you understand the science behind this
science into all this, I just think it's really cool.
Well, for me, it's very exciting, Justin, because of a very simple reason. I got into the field of science and got into my cell biology and stem cell research primarily because I didn't actually believe in spirituality. I tended towards science as where my truths were going to come from. And so as much as I was a practicing non-spiritual person, the information the cells provided transformed my entire life when I realized that our personal identity, who we are as individuals, is actually a reception from the environment that's picked up by the cells. And when I understood that, it's like, oh my God, I'm not even in this biology. I'm out there in the field, and our biology, our bodies are like virtual reality suits. We step into this suit and we experience things because of our senses, our eyes, ears, nose, taste, touch, our emotions. All of that comes from our physical body. And so our spirituality jumps into this suit while we have a life, and our life experiences are translated by the nervous system and sent back to source, which to me blew my mind because I realized, oh my God, how wonderful it is to be alive on this planet, to have an opportunity to create life and create a heaven on earth. And of course, most people look around and go, sure doesn't look like heaven on earth here.
Right.
And then I say, well, that's why, the honeymoon effect. I say, listen, go back to a time you fell head over heels deeply in love with somebody, and there was a period of time right after.
Broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Well, hello there. This is Steve Hines from Hope Wellness Center in Cunha, Mexico. And I love listening to Justin and Kate because they provide such cutting-edge information. Tune in live every day to get inspired and learn about natural health. Dr. Feelgood signing off.
Increase brain health and improve focus, memory, clarity, and mood with BioAge Superfood. Get 10% off your order using coupon code JUSTIN at extremehealthradio.com/bioage. With all the advances in medical technology today, the key to longevity may be as simple as vitamin C. Discover the power of lipospheric vitamin C at extremehealthradio.com/vitamin C. few minutes ago. Check this, Unleashing the Power of Consciousness, Matter, and Miracles. That is a great, great book. As well as Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future and the Way to Get There from Here, The Wisdom of Your Cells, How Your Beliefs Control Your Biology. But today, we're going to be talking about The Honeymoon Effect, which is his most recent book. And it's just an honor to have him on the line today. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Lipton, for being on the show today.
Justin, I want to thank you very much. I love this opportunity to talk about the new biology and that you offer a platform for people to hear some new science and new information because, as we're all aware, the world's in a very interesting turn of events here. We're actually going through a very profound evolutionary upheaval, and the way through this process is knowledge, because knowledge is power. And we've been deprived of a lot of knowledge, and new science is coming in to show us how powerful we really are. And therefore, thank you for this opportunity to provide that new knowledge. And a special thanks to the audience, because the people that are listening represent the cultural creatives, the people that are going to help organize and create a better, more thrivable future for us. So thank you for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thanks for the work you do. And like I said before, I read the Biology of Belief years ago, and I love the whole idea that you're bringing a scientific aspect to this sort of spirituality, I don't know what you call it, consciousness, and a lot of people kind of write it off, but your work being a stem cell biologist over the years has really brought the